You throw a stick at a jar. If the jar, then someone has to protect the jar while other people are sword fighting. What?
Hello, Jody Raynsford. Hey, listener, how you doing?
Hello, David Hellard. How are you?
We were very American style. Hello, brothers and
Hello.
sisters.
What we need to do? We need to choose a national style of doing it. So it's sort of like Brazilian football style. We go hello.
Well, what would the topical one for the Russian style be right now? We'd just suddenly be in your ears without your permission.
I was gonna. Do you know what? I had written down on our little notes and stuff. Make sure we talk about Russian doping, but things have moved on significantly. About the thing is, it's amazing, isn't it? How we've got to this. Oh, sorry, listen, we've gone straight into this one because it feels like it's quite urgent.
And we're late.
But just bit by bit, like the Russians have got away with stuff, and in terms of the Winter Olympics, it kind of like you were just like, this is fucking ridiculous. How have we got to say, oh, she's 14 and somehow she's taken her grandfather's what's it called, heart tablets or whatever, whatever it is,
and because of that, the pills,
exactly. And the thing is, okay, we acknowledge actually that the victims in here are also many of the Russian athletes as well. But my God, like how it's like, really, is this never going to? And what's been really interesting to see is when all of this has happened around Ukraine, how quickly and how swiftly some of the governing bodies have shut stuff down, and how some have been a bit slower than others. That literally, I mean, it's been quite impressive actually.
Normally linked to financial involvement with Russia, I'd say. The ones more financially involved, probably slower than the ones who are
I mean, like FIFA, I was thinking, FIFA are never going to do this. FIFA are going to come up with some mealy-mouthed thing about doing it. But actually, because UEFA had a $20 million or 20 million euro deal with Gazprom, to promote it, and actually for them to come out and say basically that that Russia are banned from all competitions, Russian clubs are banned from all competitions, is for FIFA and UEFA, which I consider the most corrupt, second only to the IOC, is quite incredible.
But I see this as an opportunity. Well, firstly, I'd say one of the things that annoy me, because we're gonna brush over the whole Winter Olympics because I've not watched them, probably you've not watched them, probably none of our listeners have watched them, and it's not really our kind. Although there's probably loads of people from the Golden Trail who I know who are loving it because they all ski. But the weird thing was that when they were saying that if you're under 18, you're under 16, you're then protected from the status of doping. With the weird logic that if you're too young to be punished because it's clearly not your responsibility, you're not choosing to dope. But if anything, that isn't protecting young people. That is encouraging countries like Russia.
Yeah, it's going absolutely. We need more under 18s competing so that we can get through. What's it called? Work the system. It's
the equivalent of when you have like drug gangs, and they get the 13-year-olds to carry all the drugs because they're not going to go to jail for it, and so suddenly you just shift the problem down a generation. You have all these kids involved in the drug gangs. But what I was thinking though is there surely is an angle on this that we can take advantage of, because there must be.
What do you mean around the Olympics, or?
Around the, because I'm trying to look at a sunny side of the Russia-Ukraine situation, and there aren't many to be.
Well, the sunny side is actually that it has united people in a way that we thought the pandemic was going to unite us, but the swiftness with which everything has happened, and I would say that is a positive.
Yes. There's nothing that. It's almost as if the world decided cyclists were the enemy and came together as a podcast to fight.
You know what it's like? It's like that, like the Me Too movement or the bullying movement or things like that. It's where someone has been getting away with something and everyone's known about it, and then as soon as the first person exposes them, all of a sudden they lose all their sponsorship, and the whole way you're thinking, as a sponsor, you knew all along. And it's the same thing with like Russia. It's like we've all known along that they'd be cheating, that they were going to do this and stuff like that. And then as soon as it happens, boom, dropped the same way.
Yeah. But I'm thinking there must be a sport that is a world sport that is a Russian sport that we've not heard of. Like a weird Russian sport.
Bear, was it called Bear on a Hot Plate, or is that?
Hot plate.
Is that? Have I just listened? I've been watching too much Borat.
Something like Bear on a Hot Plate. That maybe even their governing body has banned Russia, and this could be our opportunity to become world champions of a sport we've never heard of, that no one else in the world does, but Russia are no longer allowed to compete in.
Russia are no longer allowed to compete at their own sport.
Well, because in the way that we know that a lot of organisations call themselves the World Championships, when there's no, the World Series of Baseball, when, I mean, to be fair, that's not a great example because they're named after, I think, the world playing cards rather than the globe. But there are some sports that have the World Championships. The Spartan World Championships. Is it a World Championship, really? No, it's not a different sport to obstacle racing, but that type of thing. Yeah. There must be a Russian... And when I was younger, because I had good fitness and no one did Aussie rules, my Australian friend from Perth said, you should train in Aussie rules because England are crap, but they're one of the teams that go to the Aussie Rules World Championships.
Okay.
And there must be a sport that is a Russian sport that we've never heard of, that is semi-big in Russia, that has a few other nations involved, that Russia will be banned from, that we could potentially then be the only Westerners going to this random sport, and we could clean up because there's no competition.
We must know this. We must know, like, what there must be a specific Russian.
Let's Google. Quick Google our friend. Russian sports.
Well, you type in Russian sports and it just comes up with all the bands and everything.
Oh, Russian unique sports. Here we go. For traditional sports, you need to try ASAP.
Sports.
Yes, this is going to be good. So, here we go. Korodki. Oh, this is good. I reckon we could do Korodki. So, literally translating as townlets, this stick throwing game is something of a mix of horseshoes and balls.
Oh, so okay.
We can get that. Bandy. So we might struggle with this one. Ice hockey. Ice hockey with a ball, dating back to the 10th century. I mean, that sounds like a Disney movie, doesn't it? The rejected American athletes take up bandy in a cool running style thing to become world champions. Lapta.
I like the look of Lapta.
Yeah, cross between rounders and baseball. And then the last one.
No, wait a minute. No, I think there's a quote here. As writer Alexander Kuprin wrote of Lapta, deep breathing, attentiveness, resourcefulness, fast running, an accurate eye, and a hard shot required, as well as an eternal confidence you will not be defeated. That, if anything, is the total antithesis of bad boy running. Then that is the sport.
Accurate eye, deep breathing.
Eternal confidence you'll not be defeated.
Yeah, I think we can muster an eternal confidence, that's for sure. And Pekka, I mean, I've always been tell.
I don't want to know what this one's about.
So, do you have to keep your Pekka up? Is this?
It's like to do with a big stick. Ooh.
It's a cross between what a Gorodki and fencing hybrid might look like. I don't even. What was a Gorodki? Is that?
No, you can't start using the sport you've just introduced to describe the sport later on in the list.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's like a cross between Gorodki and Lapta. You're like, oh, what? I don't understand. There's too many new concepts. About.
It's like a terrible cocktail bar where they've only got 3 spirits. They're like, our next drink is a mix of the last 2 drinks. Players throw their sticks at the jar. So what we need to do...
Some of these sound shit, actually. What? Replacing a puck in normal ice hockey. I mean, that's hardly a new fucking sport, is it?
I like the sound of this. Do you throw your stick at the jar, but once the jar's been hit, it's a race between the stick throwers to gather their sticks back as quickly as possible. And the baker. They've not introduced you to the baker. Oh, yeah, the baker who must put the jar back in its place and protect it from other players attempting to sword fight their way back to the telephone.
Where did the swords come from? Like, what? This is as complicated as Quidditch. You're like, what? You throw a stick at a jar. If the jar, and then someone has to protect the jar while other people are sword fighting. What?
I mean, this. I'm game for this.
I think this is the winner.
Yeah,
Oh, the nice part of Becca is there's no real winner. You can't win.
What is it? Is it like cricket? Pekka World Championships. Yeah, it looks like there is a Pekka World Championships. Although, this is our new thing, do-badders. We're going to become world champions of Pekka, and we need to start lobbying the Pekka World Association to ban Russia for their involvement in Ukraine. Now, something I've noticed when it's come to the news reporting, have you picked up on the fact that no one really confidently knows how to say Kiev? Kiev. Kiev.
Kiev. Kiev.
So
Kiev.
I've always thought Kiev was Kiev. Then someone confidently was saying Kiev, pronouncing it on the news. And then from then on, Briggsy and I have become obsessed with trying to guess how we think the next news presenter is going to pronounce Kiev or Kiev.
Because
And
it's
some do
political. It's political, isn't it? Because Kiev is the Russian word for it. Isn't it? Oh, that's I read so many different things. Is Kiev the Russian word for Kyiv? And so saying it in that way is the issue. And so you want to use the Ukrainian word for Kyiv.
The Ukrainian word is Kiev.
Kyiv.
Does that then mean chicken Kievs? Chicken Kievs? Or chicken Kievs?
I wonder if chicken Kievs are like Fosters in Australia. I bet like you go to Kiev and they're like, this is bullshit.
Do you think they've got far stronger
Chickens.
stronger, well, they've got far
stronger chicken, garlicier sauce, butterier.
Yeah. But do-badders. Now, we're obviously trying to avoid the fact that this is a horrific situation and just talking about miserable stuff. But do we have any Russian or Ukrainian or Eastern European or just knowledgeable people from the world who can clarify for us about these sports, but also about Kiev or the hybrid, which I think you shouldn't do the hybrid because I think that is, you've got to commit the Kiev, which is, yeah, you've got to pick a side.
You're almost doing a slightly racist Eastern Europe accent with that one, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean that's the angle I tend to take. But do-badders, let us know what is the correct way to pronounce Kiev, or is there a way? And does that then relate to the food? And have you heard of these sports? Can we become good at them? Can we take part of them? And has anyone you've known ever played them? Because I think I'd be happy to interview someone who was an instructor of Pekka, because that sounds like a properly good game. Just to explain how it all works. And
well, I know we're going to be YouTubing it as soon as we're off this call, in the hope that we're gonna find out more about it.
Now we're trying to catch up on a whole heap of stuff, whole heap of news. Are we going to talk about the Parkrun furore?
Are we talking about the dogs or the fact that Parkrun's banned in Russia?
Is it banned in Russia?
Yeah, they banned it in Russia. I didn't even know they did it in Russia.
No, it's been there for a while. When was that banned? Like recently? Is that their response was kicking them out of the Olympics? They banned Parkrun.
Yeah.
If anything, that's a good thing because we don't want Russian soldiers to be doing Parkrun. We don't want the population of Russia to be as healthy in their fighting against the Ukraine. So therefore, them not doing Parkrun might make them worse athletes.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's like you have to punish the Russian people. It's kind of punishing the Russian people, isn't it? Whereas it's not as if they can vote Putin out. It's not, that option hasn't been available to them for a significantly long time. And
we like the people of Russia, other than the army. and the leaders.
Yeah.
Should we say? Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you feel about Canicross being banned from Parkrun?
I don't understand how you ban it. How can you ban it? What stops someone from going to a park? And what stops anyone preventing someone to do a park run? I don't understand how you can ban it. How does that work? You're not allowed to be in this public park.
I guess you wouldn't be given your chip at the end. You wouldn't be given your barcode, or you wouldn't be allowed to scan. That's what they might do, but I'd say this was an inevitable clash.
It should have been nipped in the bud right at the start. They must have seen that this would, because when I think about our local park, there's no. It's pretty dangerous to have people with pushchairs doing it. And again, it's difficult because.
Yeah.
How do you? Is it a blanket ban across all park runs, or is it just specific locations?
Yeah, and that's what I'm not actually sure of, because I've not received emails from, for example, Brixton Parkrun, Rockwell Park. I've not received emails from them, which I think Fark Buddy is registered to, and I do see emails still from Parkrun, and I've not seen emails there. So it might be that they are doing it on a case by case based on the needs of a park, which sounds sensible. And I know there'll be some Canicross runners who'll be furious and who'll say, well, I'm perfectly safe with my dog and my dog's trained, and I've seen people who are blah, 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 who are far worse than blah, 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 blah. But unfortunately, Parkrun's an organisation that has to make rules based off however many 100,000 people that are doing it each week, and with all of their safety in mind, and with insurance in mind, and with yada yada yada.
It's not, but isn't it? It's the waist tied ones that you're not allowed. You're allowed to run with your dog on a lead, but you're not allowed. It's a very difficult. I don't understand how they're going to plead. You can still do it even if you don't want. I suppose not having the barcode might, is the if that's the thing that you're kind of, because it. Just from a performance perspective as well, it's not your performance, it's you and your dog, which I understand, but surely those two things should be different. Are those two things differentiated in terms of the results? Do you get a little C added to it or something like that?
No, I don't think so, because there's no way of... If
you don't know someone's running with a dog, you may be comparing results from different park runs and stuff like that, or your result against someone else, and you don't know. I suppose it doesn't.
It's not a race though, so it's not a race. But then it's a time trial.
Yeah, but because it's not a race, they obviously don't do placings. Oh, wait.
Because the first time I saw Canicross was with Human Race, who are they do loads of triathlons.
There's a certain irony to that, isn't there?
And they would allow Canicross to start before other runners.
Yeah.
And actually that seemed to make sense, because while we would overtake some Canicross runners, then it's an individual person overtaking an individual dog, and the person who's overtaking is more likely to be fast, spaced out. They're choosing to overtake the dog.
Yeah.
And so they've got more control of their safety. Whereas having a dog run through the field would be far more dangerous, because you're then having what on average will be faster couplets as such than the individual runners having to go through entire fields. So, but then but coming up with a system like that would be a nightmare. And I do take the point that if a dog is on a lead, it almost feels like it's in control by the dog. It can see the owner, and that's very different to a dog just being on a lead, just being tied at the waist and running what feels like free to the dog, where it can't see the owner and it's just doing what it wants, right? So I'm sure this is going to be one of those massive controversies that affects a few people, but everyone's up in arms of.
The thing is, it's a difficult one, because if you want to upset a big group of people, and pet owners are the ones that you really don't want to upset, they can they can make it really, really difficult. I mean, whether they want to or not, but you can make it really. I mean, like, there's nothing stopping you from coming to the park run and just carrying on doing what you were doing before, which won't make any difference whatsoever. And I suppose, I don't know. Let's just find out from people that do it. What, like, who is fucking furious? I want your unmitigated anger and bile to overflow into the Facebook group. I want
to do another poll in the Facebook group about it.
A poll, yes, that's exactly what this needs. A poll.
And I'm sure we'll be elitists now. We'll be seen as elitists for anti-dog elitists or anti. But and maybe it's the approach that Parkrun did, because what they probably should have done is said, we have had injuries or we've had issues with this. We are going to form a working group to look into how can we try and keep dogs running and Canicross ideally at Parkrun giving these things so that people are aware of what's happened, and then they go off so that people have had a chance to feedback, to send in their views. They then give a bit of time so that people are used to the idea that it may happen. And then when they come back and say, look, we've actually analysed it, and unfortunately, this is this, but we've offset this, they explain it in a logical way. I think it's a lot harder for people to be outraged when they understand the process and they feel that they've had input, rather than just this is what's now happening, which probably for a lot of people feels like it's come from nowhere.
Yeah. I reckon there's a human Commission on Human Rights case to be answered for that kind of discrimination against dog owners.
Yeah,
because
and that's the thing. The fact you can still run with your dog on a lead, not so bad, really, is it?
You can run with your dog on a lead. I mean, the thing is, if they did that whole set, right, just do this, okay? This is what you want to do as a co. When they start doing that stupid talking bit at the start, where they go, "Oh, who's a tourist? Who's done 10 runs?" Stuff like that. Set off then. You're nearly finished by the time they get to the end of that. Like, that's when the Canicross is set off, and that's it. Sorted, all done, nice and easy.
Yeah. Although we're not advocating anything to get us in trouble, because we're weak. We're weak people. Or are we? I don't know. Maybe we are. Let's cause some more controversy.
Next they'll ban doping from Parkrun. That's
not in Russia. Oh no, that's why they banned Russia, because everyone is a doper.
Everyone. Their record there is 10 minutes on a park. 10 minutes for 5K. Talking about. Actually, we're talking. I had 3 things written down here on my thing to talk about. One was actually running related. McColgan's half marathon record. Which was great. The other one I'd written drugs everywhere, and then the next thing I'd written is dry robe. Dry robe. There's a long running thing. What's it called? 7 years ago when we started this podcast, it was a joke about you and your fucking dry robe. You always going on about your dry robe, you wearing your dry robe. And dry robes, of course, were very popular in OCR and stuff. That's, everyone had a dry robe. Now, it is properly broken through into the mainstream. Like, it's almost become a status symbol, isn't it? Like, I see people in fucking Sainsbury's wearing a dry robe. It's almost to go, hey guys, I do wild swimming and or other outdoor activity.
I think it's replaced there was a time where if you couldn't be asked to get dressed, you'd go out in your dressing gown to the local shops. I think a dry robe has replaced that. I'll just put on a dry robe. I haven't got dressed. But
I don't think so. No, I think there's a status. And there is a status attached to it now. Which, because I mean, you always got people coming off the beach.
Yeah.
I've done my open swimming. I've done my wild swimming, or swimming as it's known as everywhere else. And so you've got to wear that so that everyone knows that you've done your fucking swimming. Yes, well done. Just use a towel or whatever. But then, like everywhere I see it now, like everywhere, it's just it's kind of crazy. Libby, I've spoken to Libby about this, and she's like, "Shut the fuck up! Like, who cares?" Stop going on about it.
You're a
Stop.
ranter. This is your little Piers Morgan.
It's not my Piers Morgan thing. But I don't know. But just gonna say, it's like, bro. I just think it's interesting, isn't it? It has taken that amount of time for dry robes to break into the public consciousness.
And I think the part of the reason they've done it, yeah, you're right. People love the badge of being sporty, but because there's so many different styles now where you have your brand on it for whatever it is, your club or for the sport or for the gym, and there's a different color or style. So actually, unlike most things in the past where you're not going to, like DMs, for example, you might have different colors, but you're not going to have necessarily your own explanation of your connection with whatever the sport is that you love.
Yeah.
And so I think people do love their dry robes more than any other clothes because it's, in essence, a hybrid of club merch and
absolutely
style.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say nothing against. I think dry robes are fucking great. Okay, I do, and that is my position has shifted significantly. From when
since you got one, since you received one.
I don't have one. I can't afford one. It's still too expensive.
You're paying off a pony and you can't afford. I think your pony's got some weird cock robe or something.
No, it's not. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. But I think dry robes are great. I think I just think it's really interesting that it's taken like this long for it to kind of like. The other interesting kind of thought about this.
Yeah.
Why is there not a competitor to dry rope? Like why that doesn't they? I know that people have tried to become competitors.
There's so many.
But their attempt to be a competitor was charge exactly the same amount of money and do something quite similar. And you were like, either you massively undercut them and produce something of similar quality, like a Gymshark style, a grab for part of the market for people that want to buy them, or have children where you can't buy a dry robe for a child because they grow so damn quickly and there's no way that you can replace them, as they grow. But it's like nothing, in the amount of time it's taken from basically 7 years ago or whatever to now, nothing has emerged as a proper competitor to it.
Yeah, and which
is really unusual. Even like Aldi haven't done a knockoff, or Lidl have done a knockoff, or something.
Well,
like
Rat Race have. Rat Race did within about 4 years, and
did they?
It was pretty. We love Rat Race often. Sometimes there's things that we don't love quite as much. I'd say the dry robe rat robe was one of them where, particularly because Gideon was. Do you know when you go like, should I be talking about this? But Jim's a businessman. He made a business decision. Fair enough. But Gideon used to go to the Dirty Weekend, and he'd take a whole heap of dry robes, which would either sell okay when it was sunny, or if it was raining, he'd sell out the whole weekend's lot on the Friday night.
Oh, really?
Because people are desperate to actually keep warm and dry. And then about 2 years later, Gideon wasn't coming back to the Dirty Weekend, and Rat Race emerged with a rat robe, which was...
That is business acumen. There we go. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm expecting the rat bullet is on its way. I'm sure.
The rat bullet.
The rat bullet. Everyone wants a rat bullet. But actually, that's a marking phenomenon where, well, I think part of the issue is trying to copy dry robe is pretty hard because it's not an easy. Like I know from the early days, like Gideon was having real issues with mass producing the product as it is because of it's not like a synthetic inner in the way you'd expect. It was some kind of sheep's wool hybrid type thing, and so it's partly actually the type of people who knock things off tend to be not necessarily that sophisticated typically. And so actually if you look at Amazon, the amount of products on there that are just someone's made something, they've bought them from the same factory, they've changed the logo. So if you look at the pulse roll and the I can't remember what they're called, but the really punchy massage guns, there's now hundreds of those on Amazon with a slightly different style adjuster and different logo, but it's exactly the same thing. It's made in the same factories, and that's people who are chances who've gone there and said, we want the same thing, just change the shape of the head slightly, and put our logo here. Whereas because dry rope had made it's quite hard to make, then the amount of work it takes for someone to actually do that is quite a high level. And if you're coming in and at that, the cost of creating it is then quite expensive.
Yeah.
So they have to charge quite a lot of money. But also, if you look at something like Joe Malone, and they've done studies of candles and cups, where suddenly candles, as soon as someone came in charging a huge amount of money for candles, then the next person, why would you undercut them when you can? Same with Red Bull. When the Red Bull came in really high, Monster or whoever is next, Rockstar, why charge less when you can get as much money for it? And people's expectations change on what it realigns what people see as good value for something. And so why position yourself as a cheaper version of something when you can position yourself as just, we're as good or better, give us and make as much money from it.
Yeah.
And without having to do all the hard work, and you might not even have to do as much advertising because people are already aware of this product. And when K-Walks walked in marketing, she was saying that that's a huge thing that they do with, and I think we've spoken about this years ago, with DVDs, where you create a DVD that instead of Transformers, you'd call it Changes.
Transmorphers. We talked about this we only talked about this like 2 months ago.
Oh, did we? I thought there was one.
Yeah, Transmorphers, Snakes on a Plane, all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic, classic. But that was with the Woolworth days when they were relying on harassed parents to pick up the wrong damn thing by mistake. An entire market created around that.
And you still get that on Amazon and various other things where you're like, oh, it looks like, in the same way
they did that. They did that with, what's it called, Spider-Man. So Spider-Man, of course, No Way Home's at the cinema. So they put up Spider-Man Far From Home back on all the streaming platforms, but they changed the cover slightly, so you recognise the cover from having watched Far From Home, but they change it slightly. They make Jake Gyllenhaal a little bit smaller and stuff like that, and then make Tom Holland a little bit bigger. And so the font's the same with all of them, and so that's the confusing bit. And so you go, oh, it's available to rent, and you're like, oh, fuck, it's the same thing. I've watched it 100 times. Tricking people. Tricking people is a very, very good tool.
Now, so I think it's just that, and it's Ross McDonald who I think the world can thank for dry rope popularising. He brought them into OCR. They then took off from there. So I think it's all down to Ross. And Ross is a great man for many reasons.
Don't you think? Wait a minute. Do you think bringing it into OCR slowed down its take up? No. Everyone saw this like nerds from OCR, just like, oh god, we stay well clear of these.
Now. This is genuinely interesting running news that's come out. And we've got so much that we need to, in theory, have talked about. So we'll do a quick roundup because I know Jody's got a hard call at 10. But Camille is back and uninjured. She's broken the 100-mile world record again, her own record. But she's back as a master. She's now in her 40s. So she only took a few seconds off, but she's had... last 2 years, she's not really been herself. Actually, we should get her back on just to talk about injuries and just see what's been going on.
For you to gush and go and blushy and go,
Hi,
Camille.
But it looks like she's back to her former self now. So it'll be interesting to see how she then approaches her training and her races now with she's probably got a bit more understanding of her body, understanding of the limitations, and maybe she might be thinking it's a few years on, I probably can't take on everything anymore because clock is ticking when you're in your 40s and how many more years you've got left. So we'll get her back on to talk about that. But as you said, drugs and doping, Jamaica, the female sprinter being stripped. We've had the British 4x100 meters being stripped because of an individual.
Yeah, of course, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But all this has happened kind of in fact, I'm not even going to this story that's really, because I've just remembered, we have free tickets to Ruff Runner for do-badders. So Will from what's his company again?
Race Nation.
The lovely Will from Race Nation, who's been on the podcast before to talk about his story and also the state of the industry, because they have a huge number of races. They bought Ruff Runner when it was going into administration. They bought all the big obstacles that are like the Travelator, the things you see on gladiators, and they're now putting the event on. And he's just said to us, I think when we were drinking, I imagine at the running show, he was like, oh yeah, and I was talking about how I'd done Ruff Runner. It was really fun. And he's like, well, do you guys want some tickets? So he's given us 8 free tickets for the podcast. I'm going to check the dates. So
You're doing it, aren't you?
I think I'm clashing with something else, sadly. But we want to give them away to do-badders. Well, they want to give them away to us, and we want to give them away to you. So the date is...
You have to impress us.
In fact, they've given us 10 free entries, and it's in Malmesbury on the 3rd of April. It's quite soon. So as soon as you hear this, you need to start doing this. Malmesbury is a market town in Wiltshire. Oh, it is. I thought I knew that from Vikings, the TV show. So what we want you to do is to do hashtag Ruff. What do we decide? along the lines of Ruff. Oh, wow.
What was that? It was... What? Oh, I'm so disappointed it's not a circular dial one. Oh, I've not heard a wired-in phone in such a long time.
I thought it might be the banker. Wow, I'm a beast. Because we've moved out, and I haven't talked about that. It's been a bloody nightmare. We've moved out of our flat. We've moved our stuff into a house, but we're not allowed to live in the house yet. So I'm living with a bag while there's a tube strike and my office is closed for university strikes and university strikes. So this is why. Yes. Anyway, back to Ruff Runner. What do we say? You've got to tag in Ruff Runner. You've got to tag in Bad Boy Running, and you've got to use the hashtag Bad Boy Ruff Runner. But we want to see your roughest runs, your roughest pictures of you looking rough. It could be while running. It could be while doing something else.
Or wearing, or anything where you're wearing BBR merch. Doing something rough while you're wearing BBR merch. There must be a ton of photos like that.
So we want you to be saying, I'm a bad boy rough runner. And given that this is in 1 month's time from when we're recording, this will probably go out within the next 10 days. I'm not sure we're going to get 10 people who can make that date who want to do it. So it's the 3rd of April in Wiltshire. You have got a good chance of winning this by entering. There's 10 codes. It's really, really fun event. And we'll then coordinate all 10 people to go together and to go around in a wave. So they've, if people want a discount as well, there's a 20% discount. I don't know what the code is. Let's just say BBR is the code. There we go.
Let's just make up the code and hope that works. Well, we'll post it in the Facebook group. We can post it in the Facebook group, can't we? So if you go to the Facebook group,
Bad Boy 20. Bad Boy 20 is the code.
Why is it 20?
20% off.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, tag Ruff Runner, and then I'm a Bad Boy Ruff Runner as your hashtag. And you could be going back to troll pictures when you were 17 of the first time you had a beer and you're in a heap in the corner. Tag
friends in. So if you've got pictures of friends, tag he or she is
a bad boy
Ruff Runner.
Yeah, so that is the hashtag Bad Boy Ruff Runner on Facebook, on Instagram. And why not Strava? I don't know if we'll see it. I don't know I can't remember how Strava works. But
Why not do on this platform? We don't really know how it would work. Try it.
But we're hopeful. We are hopeful. We've still got 10 places. Now, have I got time to mention? So there is, when there's a step in nutrition that people get excited about. So the last one I can think of, big steps I'd say in the last 15, 20 years. One of them was nitrates, looking at beetroot juice and how that improved performance. One of them was dual track for carbohydrates, which changed the gels from just being typical carbohydrates to also having maltodextrin. So in theory, you can then take, instead of 60 grams an hour, 90 grams an hour in your stomach without it being an issue. That was a kind of big step forward for a lot of people. You could also say that the kind of aquagel type thing.
Dude, I'm going to have to. Sorry, man, I'm going to have to go.
We're gonna have to,
Yeah.
There is a huge leap forward that has been shown to be a 2% improvement on running times. So park run 2% quicker. So for me, that would be a 20-second improvement on a park run race. That has come out. We're going to talk about that next time because we need to discuss the implications of this. But thanks for listening, guys. If you want us to interview anyone in the future, let us know. Email me, david@badboyroughrunning.com. Please do reviews. We'll read out the funny reviews, but we haven't got time because Jody's got a call. Jody, you going to sign us off?
Yeah. If you want to join the conversation, head over to the Facebook group. Answer 3 questions and join the conversation. If you want to buy merch, go to store.badboyrounning.com and we've got plenty of merch there if you want it. And it goes to say that have an amazing time with whatever you're doing today and make sure you listen out for the next episode.
I'm a bad boy rough runner. Get facing people. We'll see you next time.